All right, welcome everybody to CLT Reading and Writing Crash Course. This is day one, part one. We've got a student with us today. This is Michael. Say hi to everybody, please, Michael.
Hello.
All right, thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. All right, so I've been meaning to get around to this for quite a while, the CLT Reading and Writing Crash Course. We've done the CLT Math Crash Course. I've had a lot of students take that and get some good results from it. Michael's actually taken the course as well, but it's time to do CLT Reading. So there's a couple things I want to talk about first. I want to talk about the design of the course. We're going to start with the reading section of the reading and writing part of the test. We'll spend a couple days on reading, and then we'll move on to the writing or the grammar part of the test a little bit later in the course. And I've got two goals for students as you're working your way through the course. We're going to focus on this today. The first goal is to just boost your reading comprehension. These are really tough texts here in the CLT. And if you don't understand the ideas being presented by these authors, then like good luck. There's no strategy in the world that's going to help you find the answers if you don't understand the ideas. So we've got to boost your reading comprehension. That's my first goal. And then the second goal is to help you use the right strategies once you've got the reading comprehension down and to look at the questions the right way. The nice thing about this test is it's an evidence-based text, so you don't have to really bring in your opinion or anything like that. The right answer is going to have the most evidence for it, and we're going to practice approaching those questions the right way. So we've got those two goals. Does that make sense, Michael?
Yep.
All right, great. And I want to start with that rules for CLT reading document that you should have in front of you. And I'm going to bring that up on my end. And I'd love to read these three rules together first before we jump into the passages. So go ahead and read rule number one for us, please, loud and proud.
All right. Rule number one, look up every word you don't know. From this point forward, do it.
Yeah, so here's the deal. Reading comprehension, like 90% of reading comprehension is just knowing the vocabulary. That's it. If you know what the words mean, then you understand the ideas being presented in the passage. If you don't know what the words mean, then you don't understand the ideas being presented in the passage. It's like a foreign language. Right? Have you taken a foreign language before, Michael?
Yeah.
Yeah, what have you taken?
I've taken Latin.
You've taken Latin. Amazing. Okay, right? And that's it, right? If you're translating Latin, right? It's like, if you know what the words are, you understand what you're reading. And if you don't know what the words are, you don't know. And it's the same thing with English. In fact, I treat like academic English like a foreign language. That's it. So the first thing you got to do is you just got to boost your academic vocabulary. Okay? So in your prep for CLT reading, as we're beginning, and in your own reading on your own as well, anytime you see a word you don't know, you need to look up the definition. You just have to become fluent in academic English vocabulary. It's essential for your reading comprehension. So make a habit of it. We're going to practice that as well, especially at the beginning of the course. Any questions about that, or does that make some sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, great. Go ahead and read rule number two for us, please.
All right. Number two, read for meaning. Don't just rush through text. Slow down, reread when necessary, and ask yourself, what idea is the author trying to communicate here? Yeah,
now this is kind of funky, right? Because like a lot of students might be looking at this and be like, wait a second, this is a timed test, and you're telling me to slow down? What's going on? Well, we're going to get to the timed element. I'll guide you through that. I'll give you my CLT reading game plan. And we'll talk about what that looks like doing timed work. But to start, you've got to slow down. To start, you've got to read the passages carefully. You've got to read the questions carefully, know how they test you. And you just have to read the right way first. Once you're reading the right way and you've boosted your academic vocabulary, then we can add the timed element once your reading comprehension is improved. But to start, we actually have to slow down and just practice reading well. The nice thing is if you can make this your habit in all your reading, whether you're reading for pleasure or reading for your schoolwork, then all the reading that you're doing, if you're reading the right way, becomes CLT prep. If you're reading the right way. Does that make some sense, Michael?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Yeah. So strangely, to start, slow down and just focus on reading for meaning. Some people call this close reading. I call it reading for meaning. It's the same idea. You just got to practice reading well. Go ahead and read rule number three for us, please.
All right. Number three, look for evidence in the text to support the correct answer choice and to eliminate incorrect answer choices. You never need to bring in your opinion or think about what might sound reasonable. Focus on the evidence in the text.
Yeah, and this is when we get to actually answering the questions on the CLT. First, we're going to start with approaching the passages the right way and understanding those passages, boosting your reading comprehension. Once we get to answering the questions, it's all about focusing on evidence in the text. The right answer is going to have the most evidence for it in the text. The wrong answers won't. In fact, they might have evidence against them. So that's the name of the game, is just pick the answer that has the most evidence supporting it. You don't have to bring in your opinion. You don't have to think about what sounds good. None of that. In fact, the less you bring in your opinion, the better. Focus on the evidence in the text. And if you can do that, you're going to find the right answer every single time. So let's jump into the passages. I've got a CLT practice test here up on my screen. I think you've got one on your end as well. And we're going to start with CLT practice test number 1. That's available from the website. And we're going to work through this passage together. I'm going to start by reading it together, read it out loud. And to start, again, we're going to do that reading for meaning and looking up academic vocabulary as we read, and just talk about the meaning of the passage first before we answer the question. So let's read this together and approach this text the right way. Go and start with the introduction, please.
All right. This passage is adapted from the story of the flood from the Epic of Gilgamesh, written around the 21st century BC, translated here in 1960 by N.K. Sanders.
Okay, good. Yeah, I encourage students to always read the introductions. Sometimes there's very helpful context in there. Is it essential to? You might survive without it, but quite often there's very helpful information, especially if you're familiar with the Epic of Gilgamesh. Are you familiar with it at all? Have you heard of it before or no?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, right. I think it's a ancient Sumerian story, and there's some parallels between the story of Noah and Noah's Ark and the Epic of Gilgamesh. That's going to help you orient yourself to it if you're familiar with some of those ideas. So let's read this together, starting with that first paragraph.
All right. You know the city Shuruppak. It stands on the banks of the Euphrates. That city grew old, and the gods that were in it were old. There was Anu, lord of the firmament, their father, and the warrior Enlil, their counselor, Ninurta the helper, and Enugi, watcher over canals. And with them also was Ea.
Okay, I'm going to stop you. I'm going to stop you real quick, Michael. Great job reading that. A couple things real quick. Don't ever beat yourself up over proper names or proper nouns, right? Like if you have trouble pronouncing Shrupak, which I would, right? Like don't even worry about it, right? Just whatever. You can say S, Same thing with the names of the gods, right? Like, don't beat yourself up over the pronunciation as you're reading it. But let's talk about some of the academic vocabulary here real quick. Just a couple words maybe worth talking about. Anu is the lord of the firmament. Have you heard of that term firmament before? Do you know what that means or not so much?
It means the heavens or the sky.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. It's the sky, yeah. And then, let's see, counselor, the canals. I think we're good there, right? And the rest of it, is there any vocab in there we need to discuss or no?
Well, I don't think so.
Okay, I think we're good. Let's keep reading.
All right. In those days, the world teemed. The people multiplied. The world bellowed like a wild bull, and the great God was aroused by the clamor.
Okay, Nat, we got to talk some vocab. Hold on, we got to talk some vocab here in this sentence here. What does it mean to teem? It says in those days the world teemed.
I think it means like it's filled to the brim.
Yeah, absolutely, filled to the brim with people, right? And that makes sense when it says the people multiplied after that. Yeah. And it says the world bellowed like a wild bull. Do you know what it means to bellow?
Yeah. To yell really loud.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. And the great God was aroused or awoken by the clamor. What does clamor mean? Do you know what clamor means?
Like a loud noise?
A loud noise, that's it, absolutely. Right, and if you're reading this, you're like, all these words, great, and you don't have to look anything up, that's fantastic. But I guarantee there's a lot of students that are reading a passage like this and aren't familiar with some of these vocabulary words. So you got to stop and look up the definitions. But if you know what the words mean, I think it all makes sense. Let's keep reading, Michael.
All right. Enlil heard the clamor, and he said to the gods in council, the uproar of mankind is intolerable, and sleep is no longer possible by reason of the babel. So the gods agreed to exterminate mankind. Enlil did this, but Ea, because of his oath, warned me in a dream. He whispered their words to my house of reeds. Reed house, wall, O wall, hearken, reed house, wall, reflect. O man of Eth, son of Ibarra Tutu, tear down your house and build a boat. Abandon possessions and look for life. Despise worldly goods and save your soul alive. Tear down your house, I say, and build a boat. These are the measurements of the bark as you shall build her. Let hex beam equal her length. Let her deck be roofed like the vault that hoves the abyss. Then take up into the boat the seed of all living creatures. Okay,
I'm going to stop you real quick. Let's talk about some vocabulary. Actually, before we do that, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you understand that paragraph so far?
I would say a 9.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I mean, anything like 6 or 7 above, you should be getting the vast majority of questions right, and you're already at 9. That's fantastic. But for students watching, let's talk about a little bit of the vocab in here that you just read. Let's see, kind of intolerable. That word babble. right? And sleep is no longer possible by reason of the babble. What does babble mean there?
I think it means, again, like a loud noise.
Yeah, I think it's just like chat by the chatter, right? All the talk, right? Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
These are the measurements of the bark as you shall build her. Do you know what a bark is?
No, I don't.
Yeah. What does it mean to embark on a journey? Do you know what that means?
To set out.
To set out on a journey as if you're going off on a boat. We use the same thing if you're going like in a car or a plane now, right? Or maybe to disembark, right? That's more commonly, right? To disembark means to get off the boat. But a bark is a boat. If you know Spanish, right? A barca is the Spanish name for boat. Does that make some sense?
Yeah, it does.
Right, and the gods are telling them to build a boat here, right? So that makes a ton of sense there. Let hex beam equal her length, right? That's just a beam there in the boat. And I think we're good here. Do you know what abyss means? Like the vault that.
Yeah, like the depths.
Yeah, the depths, right? Yeah, absolutely.
What does it mean when it say coves?
That I don't know. That could be a typo because I really want to read that as covers the abyss. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah. Then look up real quick, just on your end. Look up cove verb definition to see if there is a verb because I wasn't familiar with that. But I think I read that as covers when I read that the first time. It could be a typo.
Only getting a noun.
Yeah. I think that's a typo. It should be right. That makes sense that the vault covers the abyss. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably typo. All right. All right, good. Well, let's keep reading. Go ahead and move on to the next paragraph.
Okay. Then was the launching full of difficulty. There was shifting of ballast above and below till 2/3 was submerged. I loaded into her all that I had of gold and of living things, my family, my kin, the beast of the field, both wild and tame, and all the craftsmen. I looked out at the weather, and it was terrible. So I, too, boarded the boat and battened her down. All was complete, the battening and the caulking. So I handed the tiller to E.A., the steersman, with the navigation and the care of the whole boat.
Okay, let's talk about some vocab real quick. Ballast, there was shifting of the ballast above and below. Do you know what ballast is?
Isn't that like heavy stuff that you use to sink and raise the boat?
Yeah, that's it, roughly. Yeah, you generally put it, toward the bottom of the boat to keep it from tipping over, right? Yeah, it could be like heavy rocks or like supplies or something like that. Yeah, it's just heavy weights. Until 2/3 was submerged. Okay. And brought all this stuff, then battened her down. Right, just like closed all the doors and windows and things like that. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I handed the tiller. What's a tiller?
Isn't that basically the steering stick for the
mechanism? Yeah, on the ship. Yeah, great. I think that's it. Any questions about that paragraph? Or are we good?
Nope.
Okay. This isn't too bad, right? There's a couple high-level academic vocabulary words here in this passage, but even without those, you probably get the main idea, and that should be good enough for the vast majority of questions. But let's keep reading.
All right. One whole day the tempest raged, gathering fury as it went. It poured over the people like the tides of battle, and Imam could not see his brother, nor the people be seen from heaven. Even the gods were terrified at the flood. They fled to the highest heaven, the firmament of An. They crouched against the walls, cowering like dogs.
Okay, I'm going to stop real quick, Michael. I got to find out what an imam means here in this context, because I have no idea, and that's annoying me. I'm guessing you don't know. I know what an imam means in the context of like modern day Islam.
Yeah, isn't that some sort of religious leader?
It should be, yeah, it should be. But I'm guessing it means something different. This is definitely pre-Islamic.
Yeah.
Anything on your end?
All I'm seeing is with regards to Islam.
Yeah.
I'll look up ancient definition.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not finding anything about it. Are you?
No.
Yeah. We'll survive without that. But I think it just means someone in this context, right? And that's part of it too, is I guarantee you're going to see words on the test that you're not familiar with, right? Like, and sometimes you got to say, okay, what would be reasonable here, right? And a person could not see his brother, nor the people be seen from heaven. I think that's good enough. But it could. There's a good chance, right? We're talking about the ancient Middle East here. This is Sumeria. There's a good chance it could be a religious leader in a Sumerian context as well. It wouldn't surprise me a bit. Does that make some sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. All right, let's keep reading.
All right. Then Ishtar, the sweet-voiced queen of heaven, cried out like a woman in travail. Alas, the days of old are turned to dust because I commanded evil. Why did I command thus evil in the council of all the gods? I commanded wars to destroy the people, but are they not my people? For I brought them forth. Now like the spawn of fish, they float in the ocean. The great gods of heaven and of hell wept. They covered their mouths.
All right, really nicely read, Michael. Really good. Let's see, there might be some vocab here. The word travail, do you see that in that paragraph? That Ishtar, the sweet-voiced queen of heaven, cried out like a woman in travail. I'll bet from the context you could figure out what that word means. What do you think that means?
Yeah, it's like great distress.
Yeah, great distress. And that's probably the definition. Look it up real quick just to double check.
All right.
Just type in travail definition.
Yeah, it says painful or laborious effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Does that make sense there in that context?
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's weeping over what happened. Good. Now, like the spawn of fish, they float in the ocean. What does spawn mean there? Do you have any idea?
I think it means like the children.
Yeah, like the little ones. Yeah. Any questions about that paragraph? Is that all making sense?
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Yeah. This isn't too bad. The difficulty level varies considerably here. I think this is one of the relatively easier passages to understand. So you're doing great. Let's finish off that last paragraph.
All right. For 6 days and 6 nights the winds blew. Torrent and tempest and flood overwhelmed the world. Tempest and flood raged together like warring hosts. When the 7th day dawned, the storm from the south subsided. The sea grew calm. The flood was stilled. I looked at the face of the world, and there was silence. All mankind was turned to clay. I opened a hatch, and the light fell on my face. Then I bowed low, I sat down, and I wept. The tears streamed down my face, for on every side was the waste of water.
Woo! All right. Let's see if there's any vocab here. Torrent. Do you know what a torrent is?
Like a large storm?
I think so, essentially. Yeah. Look that up real quick. I know a tempest is a large storm as well. And we talk about like torrential rainfall, right? So it has something to do with the storm for sure. What's the definition there of torrent?
Strong and fast-moving stream of water or other liquid.
Yeah. And then, good. Is there any other vocab? Anything else there in that paragraph? I think
well, I think so.
Yeah, I think we're good. Okay, great. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you describe your understanding of the whole passage?
I would say a 9.
Yeah, great. That should be more than good enough to answer most of these questions. Let's answer them together. Go ahead and read question number 1 for us first.
All right. Based on the passage, the clamor that caused the gods to flood the land was most likely
I'm going to stop you real quick. Okay. Sometimes when you read a question here on the CLT, you should be able to answer the question on your own. Sometimes. Maybe not all the time, but sometimes. Mm-hmm. Do you think you could answer the question on your own? What was the clamor that caused the gods to flood the land?
I think it was the noise of all the people in the world.
I agree, yeah. And I can ask this question, what's your evidence for that?
In the first paragraph, it says, the people multiplied, the world bellowed like a wild bull, and the great God was aroused by the clamor.
Yeah, I think you're right? There's that evidence there in the first paragraph. So if you know the answer, sometimes you could just read the answer choices and match up the answer, right? Mm-hmm. In fact, do you see the right answer right now on number 1? Do you see the right answer?
Yeah, I think it's B.
It's probably B. And so look, that's going to save you some time, right? By the way, if you can answer the question on your own, right, confidently, and then just, if you find the answer that you expected, I can pretty much guarantee there it is. And you already have the evidence for it. And by the way, notice this is a 2-for-1, bro. This is a 2-for-1. Look at question number 2. Read question number 2.
Oh, which lines in the passage best support the answer to the previous question?
You've already found it. And by the way, I got to show you something real quick that I didn't figure out until way too recently. Okay? Because for a while when I was prepping for this course, I was counting the paragraph numbers on my own. But look at the very top of the passage, right above the introduction. You see where it says show paragraph numbers?
Oh, yeah, that button.
Yes. Yes, click on that.
Yeah.
Booyah, paragraph.
I didn't realize that last time.
I didn't realize this for years. In fact, I was annoyed with the CLT for a very long time. Like, I've got to count these paragraphs. I was spending way too much time counting paragraphs. There's that tiny little button right there. You press that button before you answer the questions. Okay? And that's going to save you a ton of time. And in fact, you found the evidence right there in paragraph 1. We don't even need to look at the answer choices. Do you see the right answer?
It's, I believe, trying to figure out which words it begins with.
Well, what paragraph did you read?
Oh, right. It was in paragraph 1.
It was in paragraph 1. This got to be paragraph 1. Now,
yeah.
Now, look, we can test it. In fact, I want to. I want to make sure it works. Okay? We got time to do that. But I just want to show you that if you just think clearly about it, see if you can answer the question you're on first, and you got what matches, and find the evidence for it, right? You've got the first 2 questions in seconds. Do you see that? Without having to test everything, and without having to read all those paragraphs. Okay? Now listen carefully. Yeah. Here's the deal. If you read that question, you're like, boy, I don't know what caused it. Okay, great. Don't even worry about question number 1. Go to the lines in question number 2 and see which evidence lines tell you what caused the gods to flood the land. Does that make some sense?
Yeah, that does.
Yes. Yes. So start with if you don't know the answer, start with the evidence. See which addresses the question, and then you've got both. And that'll save you a ton of time. So if you know the answer on your own, you can go through that process we went through the first time. If you're unsure about the answer, start with the evidence that they give you. And again, make sure you click that paragraph button so you're not counting paragraphs and wasting a ton of time. Go ahead and read paragraph 1, sentence 5. Here we're starting with Enlil heard. That's going to be kind of in the middle of the paragraph there. Let me know when you see. Oh, I see it now. Do you see it?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Enlil heard the clamor, and he said to the gods in council, "The uproar of mankind is intolerable, and sleep is no longer possible by reason of the babel."
Okay. I'm going to stop you. Does that give us evidence for what most likely caused the clamor of what was the clamor of caused the gods to flood the land? Does that address that?
Yeah.
100%, man.
Yeah, it does.
100%. We can feel very confident about both those answers. Questions about that or no?
Nope.
Okay, great. Let's keep practicing. Go ahead and read question number 3.
All right. E.T. is the father of...
Yeah. Okay, now, here's the deal. So, this is just an information question. And we got to find out who this guy, Ibarra Tutu, is. Okay, or E.T., right? So, all we're doing here is we're playing Where's Waldo. That's all we're doing. Okay. Are you familiar with Where's Waldo? Is that a thing kids your age are familiar with? Do you know what I'm talking about?
But I know I've heard of it.
You've heard of it?
Yeah.
But you've never played it? It's a book, I guess, right? So it's this book, right? Where there's this guy you're trying to find, it's this guy with a sweater and a hat, it's a striped sweater, and you're trying to find him in a picture with 200 other people, right? That's Where's Waldo. So that's all we're doing is just going through the passage here and looking for the name Ibarra Tutu to figure out who he's the father of. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we're just scanning. So I'm going to scan on my end. Let me know if you see that name, Ibarra Tutu, and what paragraph.
Oh, yeah, I see it.
What paragraph you in?
It's paragraph 1.
Paragraph 1. I missed it in paragraph 1. Around what?
Yeah, it's sort of towards the bottom, right under
there.
V-house,
there it is.
V-house.
Oh, and that's tricky because it's split up over 2 lines. Do you see that? That's a little bit tricky there. Okay, great. So I want you to read that sentence where Ibarra Tutu's at.
All right. It says, "O man of Shurapak, son of Ibarra Tutu, tear down your house and build a boat, abandon possessions and look for life, despise worldly goods, and save your soul alive."
Ooh, who's talking there, by the way?
I think that's Ea.
Ea, right? Yeah, it says because Ea... but Ea, because of his oath, warned me in a dream, and here's her warning, right? Who's she speaking to?
Whoever the narrator is.
Whoever the narrator is, right? And she calls him, "O man of Shurapak, son of Ibarra Tutu." So, Ibarra Tutu is the father of who?
The narrator.
The narrator. Answer choice B. Booyah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was actually tempted to put Shurapak as the answer.
Now, here's the deal. If you had trouble finding that, or if you were just iffy about the relationship there, it's not clear, right? Because it would love it if it said, "Hey, Ibarra Tutu is the father of the narrator." That would be lovely if it said that in the text, right? It doesn't say that.
Yeah.
Another way to approach these questions through elimination. In fact, if there was one I was going to eliminate right off the bat, I would have eliminated Shrupak. Because I remember reading that first line. Look at the first line of the passage.
Yeah, it's a city.
Right? It's a city. There's no way he's the father of a city. I mean, well, you know, it could be a thing, right? We talk about like the founding fathers or something like that. We'll be talking about them on the CLT for sure, right? But probably not the father of a city. Not likely. And then even look at answer choice C and D. Like those are gods. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like the gods have parents. Sometimes that's a thing. It's a possibility. But so that could be a thing. You know, that's fair. But we found the name and we found the evidence for it. It's got to be the narrator. Questions about that, or was that pretty clear?
Nope.
All right, great. Go ahead and read question number 4 for us, please.
All right. Which of the following did the narrator not bring on the boat with him?
Okay. Now, there's a part of the passage where it talks about like all the stuff he brought on the boat. Do you remember where that is? I'm looking for it.
I think it's paragraph 2.
Yep, I see it. Read the sentence. Do you see it?
Yeah. I loaded into her all that I had of gold and of living things, my family, my kin, the beast of the field, both wild and tame, and all the craftsmen.
Yeah. Okay, good. And that's where it stops. Okay, great. This is easy. We've already found it. Okay. So let's test the answer choices. Did he not bring? Notice it says, what did he not bring with him? They put that in all caps.
Yeah.
Well, did he bring his animals?
Yes.
I think so. Yeah. So it's not A. Does that make sense? Did he bring his wealth?
Yes.
Yes. Even though it doesn't say the word wealth, we have the idea. Why do you know he brought his wealth?
Because he loaded into her all that he had of gold.
Yeah. There you go. That's definitely his wealth. So be aware of this, right? You can't necessarily just play word matching on this test. All right. It's idea match. Some students might look at it, well, it didn't say his wealth. There's the idea. All right. It's idea matching, not word matching. What about answer choice C, his family?
Yeah. It says his family.
Yeah, it says his family, right? And my kin, right? Kins is another word for family as well. So what about his friends? Did he bring his friends?
Nope.
It does not say he brought his friends. So what's the right answer?
D.
It's got to be D. So which did he not bring with him? Question about that? Or is that pretty clear?
That's pretty clear.
Do you see why the correct answer always has evidence for it in the text?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, have you had to bring in your own opinion or your own understanding at all? I mean, other than your reading comprehension abilities. Have you had to bring in your opinion at all?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Looks like it's all there.
No, you never do. It's all there. It's just a question of finding it. That's it. Okay. Go ahead and read question number 5 for us, please.
All right. Number 5. The narrator's primary aim throughout the passage is to...
Okay. And go and read answer choice A.
All right. A, warn Gilgamesh of an impending flood.
Okay. I'm going to stop real quick. This, because I was thinking about this, like, well, maybe I should ask, do you know what the primary aim of the author is first, right? And if you can answer that on your own, right, we could kind of match that with the answer choices. I kind of skipped that part because, like, I'm not sure I could answer what his primary aim was. That's tricky.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible. Like, could be a lot of things. So let's just test the answer choices here. Could the narrator's primary aim throughout the passage, could it be to warn Gilgamesh of an impending flood? Do we have any evidence that the narrator's primary aim throughout the passage is to warn Gilgamesh of an impending flood?
I don't think so, because he's talking about a flood like it already happened.
Yeah, right? I mean, like, the flood, basically after, paragraph 3 on down, it's all about the flood happening, right? So, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, I think one of the gods does warn him, or goddesses does warn him. So you can argue that maybe there's a little evidence for that. I'd look for something with more evidence, though, and you're right, the whole second half of the paragraph just talks about the flood happening. Try answer choice B.
Chronicle a disagreement between the gods.
Okay, do we have any evidence that the primary aim, or goal, right, throughout the passage is to chronicle a disagreement between the gods?
I don't think so. It seems like for the most part, the gods agree about flooding.
Yeah.
Earth.
Yeah, although one of them expresses some regret, I think, right? And you could argue, like, there's the Council of the Gods kind of at the beginning right? And you could argue, you know, there maybe, but like there's just not that much evidence for it at all. If there isn't even evidence at all for a disagreement, I agree with you. It's not great. Try C.
To honor the God's wisdom.
Do we have any evidence that the narrative's primary aim throughout the passage is to honor the God's wisdom?
Not really.
No, man. I don't see anything like that anywhere. Try D. I hope it works.
To relate how the land had been flooded.
Do we have any evidence that the narrative's primary aim throughout the passage is to relate how the land had been flooded?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. What's your evidence for that?
Basically the whole thing.
Basically the whole thing, right? And even like in the first part, it's like talks about why they're flooding it, and then the process of the flooding is the rest. It's the whole thing. I mean, compare that to the other answer choices, right? There's no question.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious.
It's very obvious. Very obvious. That's always the question you ask yourself. Which answer choice has the most evidence for it?
Mm-hmm.
And I pick it. And that's it. Questions about that or no?
Nope.
Okay. Question number 6. This is a little different. Go ahead and read the question.
All right. In paragraph 4, sentence 3, the word waste most closely means...
Okay, now notice this question's very specifically worded, Michael. Question doesn't say, what does waste mean? Do you see that?
Yeah.
It doesn't say what does waste mean. Because if you say, what does waste mean? It'd be like, I don't know, trash, garbage, right? Yeah, generally, right? Like 90% of the time in our modern context. But that's not the question. The question says, in paragraph 4, sentence 3, the word waste most clearly means. So here's what you've got to do. This is the strategy on these vocab questions. You've got to plug in those answer choices in place of the word waste in the sentence. Okay? The right answer will make sense. And the wrong answers won't.
Yeah.
And that's the process you have to go through. Right? Because we're just looking for garbage. It's answer choice C. Right? We're going to test it. But let's start by plugging in answer choice A. So we're in paragraph 4. Thank God these are numbered. Sentence 3. Do you see sentence 3? Now we got to count the sentences still.
I think I found the word. It's like way at the bottom.
Yes, it is. Yeah, then I bowed low, right? So I want you to read that sentence. Start by reading the whole sentence and plug in answer choice A for waste.
All right. Then I bowed low. I sat down and I wept. The tears streamed down my face, for on every side was an expansive empty terrain of water.
Okay. How's answer choice A? Does that make any sense?
I think that works pretty well.
That makes some sense, right? There's a ton of water everywhere around. Okay, that makes some sense. Let's keep it. Let's keep it. Try answer choice B. Plug it in.
All right. Then I bowed low. I sat down and I wept. The tears streamed down my face, for on every side was the to dispose of casually of water.
How is answer choice B?
Probably doesn't work.
That's trash. It's gone. Try answer choice C.
Then I bowed low. I sat down and I wept. The tears streamed down my face, for on every side was a heap of garbage of water.
How's answer choice C?
Not really.
That's trash. That's awful. Try answer choice D.
Yeah. All right. Then I bowed low. I sat down and I wept. The tears streamed down my face, for on every side was a misuse of skills of water.
How's D?
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
That's a heap of garbage. That's awful. It's got to be answer choice A. It's the only one that makes any sense. Does that process make sense of plugging in into the context?
Yes.
Because that's the question. Have you been doing that on those vocab questions? I know you've taken the CLT previously. Or no?
I don't think so. I think I usually just try to figure out which answer.
And you could figure it out, on your own most of the time. Don't get me wrong. You could, but you're going to get it every time if you plug it in. Every single time. They're easy questions. Great. Go and read question number 7 for us, please.
All right. Based on the passage, it is clear the narrator believes...
Okay, believes something, right? Here, we've got to test the answer choices here. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go and read A.
All right. A, the flooding of the land was tragic.
Okay, now, do we have any evidence that the narrator believes the flooding of the land was tragic?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's
your evidence? Especially in paragraph 4.
Oh, especially paragraph 4. Where?
Because at the bottom he says, he opened a hatch and the light fell on his face. I bowed low, I sat down and I wept. The tears streamed down my face, for on every side was the waste of water.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty solid evidence. Can we agree? All right. Then I bowed low. I sat down and I wept. The tears streamed down my face, for on every side was the waste of water.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty solid evidence. Can we agree?
Yeah.
That was pretty good. Try answer choice B. We'll keep A.
Okay. B says mankind deserved to be destroyed.
Do we have any evidence that the narrator believes mankind deserved to be destroyed?
I don't think so.
No.
He seems pretty upset about it.
Yeah. I don't know if he says that anywhere. You could argue maybe some of the gods think that, but notice it says the narrator believes. Right, yeah, he's clearly upset about it. B doesn't make any sense. Try C.
C. He should have died along with everyone else.
Do we have any evidence the narrator believes he should have died along with everyone else?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think so. I just don't see any evidence for it. We've got clear evidence for A. So, probably not C. Even if that's a reasonable thing to think, right? Like, I could imagine somebody saying, but that's not the question, right? We're looking for the evidence.
Yeah.
So far, we've got evidence for A and none for B and C. Try D.
D. The gods are infallible in their rulings.
Let's talk about that word infallible first. You know what infallible means?
Can't be wrong.
Can't be wrong. Yeah. So are the gods unable to be wrong in their rulings? Does the narrator believe that?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Do you see any evidence for it?
No, not really.
No. But we got evidence for it.
Because, if the gods are disagreeing with each other, then...
you don't even have to go there, right? It's like, do we have any evidence the narrator believes all the gods are infallible in their rulings?
No, I don't see anything.
The answer is no, right? And we can stop there. But we do have evidence for A, and it's the right answer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Be careful overthinking. Michael, look, in case it's not obvious, you're a bright kid. And you're a very good reader. Your reading comprehension skills are strong. That's great. But sometimes I see this problem in a lot of bright students, a lot of students that read really well. They tend to overthink some of the questions. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, I can see you kind of going down that path a little bit with answer choice D. You're like, well, if the gods are disagreeing, and if they're disagreeing, it's possible that one of them is wrong and one of them is right. In which case, if someone is wrong, then it's got to be wait, hold on. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's easy to go down the wrong path if you're overthinking. So just avoid overthinking in general. Get out of your head. I tell students this all the time. Get out of your head and get your nose in the text. You don't have to think about it that much. It's just like, do we have evidence the narrator believes the gods are infallible in their rulings? Yes or no? And the answer is a clear no. So it can't be. That's the only place you have to go. Does that make some sense?
Yeah, that does make sense.
You got to keep it simple. Focus on the evidence. Focus on the evidence. Keep it simple. Go into question number 8 for us, please.
Okay, number 8. From the narrator's perspective, this passage would best be considered.
Okay. Now, hold on. This is a very specific question. Notice it says, from the narrator's perspective. You see that? The passage would best be. I just got to point that out. You can't ignore that. You can't just focus on the passage would best be considered. It's got to consider the whole question. Go and read answer choice A.
A collection of maxims.
Let's talk about a maxim first. You know what a maxim is?
Isn't that sort of like a saying?
Yeah, like a truthful saying. Yeah, saying with like a lesson or some truth to it. Yeah. So do we have any evidence that from the narrator's perspective, this passage would best be considered a collection of maxims?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Do you see any maxims anywhere?
Not really.
Not really. Like, truthful sayings. I'm not saying he's lying here or something like that, but like, just not a maxim. Try choice B.
A persuasive argument.
Okay. Do we have any evidence that from the narrator's perspective, the passage would best be considered a persuasive argument?
I don't think so.
I don't see a persuasive argument anywhere, right? It's just not a thing. Try C.
An entertaining legend.
Do we have any evidence that from the narrator's perspective, the passage would best be considered an entertaining legend?
No.
It's a little tempting, I got to admit. Are you tempted at all by it? Or no?
Yeah, because the story itself is supposed to be a legend.
Yes.
But...
Yes. Why is C wrong, though?
Because the narrator isn't talking like it's a legend.
No. 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 Let alone an entertaining legend. Right? Like, is he entertained by this at all? Or are you trying to entertain with this? Like, I don't think so. Right. Now, we might read it as an entertaining legend. Right? A modern person might. But that's not the question. Do you see, once again, why you don't need to bring in your own opinion here? You've just got to laser focus on the question. But I don't think the narrator would consider this to be an entertaining legend. Try D.
No. And then D is a historical account.
Do we have any evidence that from the narrator's perspective, this passage would best be considered a historical account?
Yeah, the whole time he's talking like it's like it happened.
Yeah, he's like, this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened. Right. He was there. And he's telling the story.
Yeah.
Of everything he saw and heard. So we got most evidence for D. And it's D. Does that question make some sense?
Yep.
Okay. Be aware of that trap there. Again, you don't have to bring in your outside opinion or understanding at all. In fact, it'll throw you off. Focus on the question. Focus on the evidence. All right. Now look at 9 and 10. They end with these questions here, these analogy questions. Have you seen these before? Are these familiar to you? I guess you've taken the CLT, right? So you've seen these, right?
Yeah, I've seen these.
All right. Now here's how you got to approach them. They're going to give you like 2 like words or statements. Okay. And you got to find the relationship between those words or statements in the context of the passage. In the context of the passage. Right. And we got to identify the relationship first before we test the answer choices. Okay. So I would read this. I'll start with the first one, right? You would read this as Pazur Amuri is to helmsman as something else. This is something else. Okay. That's how you read it. Pazur Amuri is to the helmsman as something else. So first of all, we got to identify who Pazur Amuri is. Who is Pazur Amuri? Do you have any idea? Here I'm playing Where's Waldo again in the passage. Who is he?
Pazur Amuri is... I'm going to have to look hard.
I'm in paragraph 2. I found him.
In paragraph 2?
Yeah.
All right. It is... Oh, I see him. Yeah. Oh, he's the guy that he handed the tiller to.
He hands the tiller to him, right? You see it right there in that second to last line. It says, so I handed the tiller to Pazur Amuri, the steersman. Right? With the navigation and the care of the whole boat. Okay, great. All right, so what's the relationship between Pazur Amuri and the helmsman? What's the relationship there? Do you know what helmsman means?
He's the guy who steers the ship, right?
Steers the ship. Yeah, the guy in charge of the ship, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so he is the helmsman.
He is the helmsman. Yeah, absolutely. So now we've got the relationship. And you can read it that way. I would say Pazur Amuri is the helmsman as... Okay, and you read the answer choices the same way. Is Enlil the... All right? As Enlil is the goddess? Okay? Right? Is Enlil the goddess? We'll go back to it. Who's Enlil?
I think Enlil is a god.
I think so, too. I'm in paragraph 1, and I see Enlil.
Yeah.
Do you see it? Line 3.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
And Warrior Enlil, their counselor.
Yes. Yeah. So what about answer choice A?
I don't think so.
I don't think so, right? Probably, I don't know if it's a god or... It says he's a warrior, right? I mean, it could be like the warrior or something like that, but not a goddess. Does that make sense? My answer choice A is gone. Try answer choice B.
Shurupak is a city.
Yeah. So is Shurupak, is that a city?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we identified that earlier. I mean, B is pretty good, right? And there's the evidence there in that first line. Right, city. So we could say that Pazur Amuri is the helmsman as Shurupak is the city. We could say that. What about answer choice C?
As a river is Euphrates.
What do you think about C?
I don't know. I don't think it says anything about Euphrates in here.
Well, this is a little bit tricky because I think the Euphrates is a river.
Yeah.
But could you say a river is the Euphrates?
Oh, not necessarily.
It's super tempting. It really is. But it gets the relationship flip-flopped. it gets the relationship flip-flopped. We're starting, it's got to be the exact same relationship. We're starting with the proper name here, right? Pazuramuri is the title of the helmsman. And maybe that's a better or more specific relationship, right? Pazuramuri is the title of the helmsman, as Shuruppak is the title of the city. But you wouldn't say the river is the title of the Euphrates. Does that make some sense?
Yeah, that does.
Yeah. What about answer choice D?
Anu is Enlil.
Yeah, can we say that? That Anu is Enlil. Or Anu is the title of
No.
No, those are two different gods, I'm fairly certain, right? So it's got to be
Yeah.
B. And it is. Does that process make sense? But the key there is to identify the relationship. And sometimes you got to go back to the passage to even figure out what the ideas are. And that's essential there, right? Just seeing this question again, I was like, who's Pazuramuri? I didn't remember. Got to go back and find out. But then you do that, then you find the relationship. Once you find the relationship, see which answer choice matches that exact same relationship. And you should be able to say the same thing, whatever the relationship is. Pazuramuri is the helmsman, or Pazuramuri is the title of the helmsman. And sometimes you got to play with some things, right? Like it sometimes gets really specific, and sometimes it's really, really tricky. So you might have to test out some different relationships a little bit, but go with the answer choice that works the best. You'll probably be right. Go and read question number 10.
Question number 10. Ishtar is to regret as...
Yep. Okay, great. All right, so first of all, who's Ishtar? Let's make that really clear.
Ishtar is...
I got to go back.
Yeah, I do too.
I'm playing Where's Waldo now, looking for the name Ishtar.
In paragraph 3.
Yep, I'm there.
Then Ishtar, the sweet voiced queen of heaven.
Yeah. Cried out like a woman in travail, right? So who is Ishtar?
So it is a queen of heaven.
Yeah. What else do we know about her based on the passage here? In that paragraph, what else do we know about her?
That she is, she's upset about the flood happening.
Yeah. Yeah, clearly. Very upset about the flood happening. All right. All right. So let's go back to the question here, which is Ishtar is to regret. So what's the relationship between Ishtar and regret? What's that relationship?
Ishtar regrets the flood.
Yeah, you could say that. Maybe the first thing is the person singing things, the action. You could say Ishtar expresses regret.
Yeah.
Right? I think that might be a little bit more specific. You know, maybe the other we'll try both relationships. But I'd probably say Ishtar expresses regret. As, okay, go ahead and read answer choice A.
As the narrator expresses persistence.
How's that?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, that's a little tempting, right? Because that's like, I mean, the narrator survived. I mean, do you see it? But I'm also wondering too, like, how do you express persistence? I mean, you can like embody persistence, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Or personify it, or maybe exemplify it. I don't know if you express persistence. That's iffy at best. Let's try the others. Try answer choice B.
Pazuramuri expresses rebellion.
How's answer choice B?
I don't think so.
I don't think there's any mutiny on the boat. I don't think so. No, he's the helmsman, man. There's no rebellion going on. Try C.
As Enlil expresses irritation.
Okay. Well, who's Enlil?
Enlil is that warrior.
No. Oh, yeah, he is. Oh, yeah. Yes, he is. Does he express irritation?
Yeah, because he tells the gods in council that the uproar of mankind is intolerable.
Yes. That looks pretty good. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty. Let's double check with Ninurta. Try D.
As Ninurta expresses vengeance.
Okay, I don't remember Ninurta in the passage, do you?
No, certainly don't remember vengeance.
Yeah, neither of them. I'd feel pretty good not going with D. I'm curious now. I'm assuming Ninurta's in here.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
It says in the beginning, Ninurta the helper.
There you go, right. And I think that's it. I don't think she appears anywhere else. Right. Yeah, definitely not expressing vengeance. I don't think anybody's, right? There's no expression of vengeance at all.
Yeah,
right?
no.
I mean, the guy's upset with people being loud. that vengeance? Yeah. That's more irritation. Yeah. But again, that's answer choice C. That's the right answer. Questions about that or no?
No.
Okay. Michael, is this different, approaching the questions that we're approaching right now, is this different from the way you've been approaching them on previous CLT tests that you've taken?
The analogies, definitely.
Yeah.
I've always had trouble with the analogies, and this helps a lot.
Yes. Yes. This is the way to do it. Yeah, if you just do Pazuri Nurmi is to the helmsman as, and then testing, but it's like, it's just not.
I know.
You should, identify the relationship and describe the relationship. And then it's so much more clear.
That helps a lot.
But that's 2 out of the 10 questions in each passage, right? So if you've been getting those wrong or getting most of those wrong, right? I mean, like, that's going to drop your score. Mm-hmm. So just fixing that alone could be huge for you. Yeah. So we'll keep practicing. Okay, great. All right, let's go to actually. Let's do this. We're going to take a little break, like a little 5-minute break, and we'll come back and then we'll work on the second passage together. Is that okay with you?
All right.
All right. We can run to the restroom or grab some coffee. I'm going to grab some coffee myself. I'll see you in about 5-ish minutes. Okay, Michael?
All right.
See you soon. Bye.